Okay. I have to work on my introduction too. But um, thank you for joining us again for another episode of A Melanated Hypothesis. I'm here with Shanice. She is, um, are you an author?
No, I'm not an entrepreneur.
No, author.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Okay, wait. Okay, wait. So I'm gonna start over because should I introduce you or do you want to introduce yourself?
Um, I can do it myself. I'm just a podcaster, but yeah, I can if you want me
Okay, okay. All right. So, um, uh, thank you. Wait. I feel I'm nervous. I'm sorry. Let me just. Uh, okay.
to.
Thank you for joining us for an episode of A Melanated Hypothesis. I'm here with the Well-Read CEO. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Shanice. I am the host of the TheWellReadCEO podcast. Um, on a regular day, you can find me consulting in technology, but I really decided to start my podcast to delve more into those topics that really set my heart and my soul on fire that I really wanted to talk more about. So that's more about me in a nutshell.
Yes, I'm so glad you're joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, First, I have to thank you for bringing me on to the Well-Read CEO. It was awesome.
It was a
So
must,
now,
yes.
so now I just want to learn a little bit more about you.
Mhm.
Um, so how did you, what are the things that you said are, your passion or burning the fire in you?
Yeah, yeah. So the Wellness CEO covers topics on career, education, and self improvement. Self improvement really being that cornerstone that kind of brings it all together. I feel that throughout my kind of grade school journey and really college journey, and now into full time, I've always kind of gotten compliments or kind of always been asked advice on how to advance yourself like in your career or do really well like in your educational journeys. I've always just kind of had a knack for it. And I was like, you know what? How about I kind of bundle up all of my experience, all of my tips into a podcast so that, I can always refer back people back to and kind of create a community around it where people are more open to talk about these things. Because when I give you advice, it's kind of really unconventional. Like, um, your pathway into college, right? People get so hung up on your entrance exams. I'm like, they really don't matter entirely that much, or kind of how to not stress out so much about that. I also think that people get wrapped up in, just a grade on a sheet of paper. And for me, going from that super high performing student, in high school to failing my first class in college, like how to help people kind of get through that and know that you still belong and you still deserve to be there and still deserve to be learning, and progressing towards your degree, like no matter what obstacles kind of pop up in your way, and really just kind of help people through that. And then kind of bringing it all together with self improvement. I think that my journey through school and then also my time interning throughout college have really helped set me up in terms of being able to, I think, be more emotionally intelligent when it comes to interacting with folks and developing relationships. So that's something that I also kind of help folks out with too, um, on the back side of that. So yeah.
Yes, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you said that you help with obstacles. What kind of obstacles have you faced just on your journey?
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of alluded to it before, but I was a super high performing student like in high school, right? And I went to one of the top engineering schools like in the country, and it's a PWI, and I felt really, self-conscious about it every day. I was really prideful. I didn't want to like ask for help or anything like that. So I was really struggling, really like going in this downhill like depression battle. Like it was so crazy. For like the first 2 years, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just went to class and went to my dorm. That was it. And I was really kind of like sad and like alone. And so I don't know what it was, or I think I do know. I think I just like really got up one day, like I was kind of talking to God too, and I was like, you know what, Shanice, I'm done feeling like this. Like college is supposed to be your best times and your best years. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done living in like this little hole or this little box that I put myself in. So I just kind of woke up and I started to get involved in other things on campus. And I noticed instantly how the light bulb started to go off and how my relationship started to develop. Um, so yeah, I think that was kind of like for me that big crux, and just kind of understanding or just kind of realizing that, it started within and like I had to work on some things myself. So yeah.
That's so good. It's almost like you experienced the culture shock.
Yep,
Uh,
exactly.
so what like I just want to dig into that a little bit. What exactly shocked you about the culture, or what kind of what your experience from
Yeah.
what you were normally used to?
Yeah. So I went to school, like high school and like a small suburb kind of sort of. So I kind of had that good mix of, black students, white students, kind of like everyone, the whole gambit, right? And I kind of felt like it wasn't super judgmental in that sense. Like everyone just kind of learned and kind of did their own thing. Like everyone's kind of proud of you, whatever background you had, really. So I really feel like I was in this bubble. I wasn't really exposed to real life per se just yet. So when I got to college and I kind of started to experience more of those maybe racial slurs, maybe kind of those backhand comments, in school, I didn't know how to handle it. I was so unprepared. Like I think I was kind of in this fantasy that, if you treat people right, people will treat you right. And I'd never kind of gone through anything, as significant as I had like until I got to college, right? Having even professors kind of, say certain things to say slight marks to you as well and kind of, downplay your intelligence. So I just wasn't prepared for that mentally, emotionally, just the whole thing. And so when I got to college, I didn't have the tools and the resources to kind of equip myself with it. And I was blocking myself off from the kind of the Black community on campus as well, just being naive really, and just kind of taking on this trope of, I'm just going to suffer internally. I'm going to suffer in silence, basically. But I had a family friend from church. He said, because he knew he had his son go to the college too and play football. He was like, don't you ever forget that you're not a token, and that you deserve to be there just as much as anyone else. And so that was something that I kind of reminded myself of. And I think that's what kind of helped me out of that funk, right? I was like, you know what, Shanice, he's right. You do deserve to be here. You got in on your own merit, and you deserve to be here too. So that's what really helped me kind of get out of the funk.
That's so
Mm-hmm.
good. I think that a lot of what you touch, I've dealt with personally too as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of feeling like, well, for one, working at the post office,
Mm-hmm.
when I have on that uniform, especially in the South, I was like, you're not like them. So,
Yeah.
I got treated completely different when I was in the uniform. But
Mm-hmm.
literally, the uniform is a badge. As soon as I take the badge off, now
Yeah.
I'm just a regular Black person again. And it made me feel some kind of way because
Mm-hmm.
I never felt that before, always being in an urban city.
Yeah.
Everyone was like me. Um, I think that's so good. So how
Mm-hmm.
did you handle that? Like when you were first exposed with that, how did you handle that emotionally?
Yeah. At first, um, I feel like I am definitely that person where I will give you too many chances. So at first I was like, oh, maybe he didn't really mean it like that. It wasn't, really thought to be like that. Um, but I think when I started to go into school or go into class and it was like almost a, everyday thing, and I was kind of excluded for some groups, and I was kind of like the last person to be picked to put in a group. That's when it really started to weigh on me, right? And then of course when I got my grades and I was seeing, that I could put in all these hours and I still wasn't doing as well in these exams and these assignments, and my other counterparts, knowing darn well they were out partying all night, they were doing everything and they were still passing and doing well in the class, actually some of the top performers. And I just started to feel really kind of jealous in that sense too. I was like, there's something I'm not getting and there's something that I'm not understanding, and I felt left out. So I think that's when it really started to weigh on me in terms of, I'm ostracized in this sense. So that's when I really started to kind of like realize, it's because of who I am. It's because of how I look. And that's something that I just wasn't prepared for. So like they didn't even want to give me the time of day or give me a chance to kind of prove myself in that sense. It was just this automatic preconception and I'm just going to put you in this basket,
Mm-hmm. So how did you separate that from your identity, from who you are?
It was a journey. I'm not even gonna lie. I think I still like struggled with that up until I graduated, really and truly. But I think one of the things that helped me kind of, I would say, take pride and take ownership in both sides of it. Kind of my emotional intelligence, my, academic performance, and also just my identity as a whole, and not trying to act like something else to fit in. It really helped when I got plugged into my like Black Student Union on campus or the African American Student Union. That's what really helped me because I found other students, that people that looked like me, that were making it, and not just, passing, but like they were actually walking in who they truly were, dressing, authentic, culturally, everything they wanted to, everything that I felt, represented who I was. They were doing it and still having friends or people connected to them that didn't look like us, and then also doing really well in class as well. So it was just kind of more so of, I'm not that kind of in your face person. And they were kind of like, you just need to stand up. You just be like, okay, this is who I am. I'm standing on it. You can't change it. And, you're going to have people that aren't going to like you. But the people that are meant to be connected to you are going to be attracted to you. And you just let them come in. Those that don't want to be there, those that want to keep that preconception, let them go. They don't need to be around you anyway. And I think for the longest, that was hard for me because I was such a people pleaser. And I wanted everyone to like me. I was just kind of been like that likable person, I felt like, and I just wasn't used to people not liking me. So I would try to figure out, how to make them like me. And they really just kind of sat me down. They were like, you know what? Everyone here is not for you, and that's okay. You just have to find the people that are for you, and don't let them go. Like hold on to them, and just keep walking. So
What practices did you use to let that sink in? Because you hear something and it kind of just like, okay. But how did you actually embody that?
I think it was really just, I think we kind of mentioned this before too, but just sitting in it, just kind of brushing it off a little bit, not always reacting to it, and just kind of in a sense, maybe. So I'll say a lot of times it was kind of, you heard it in the back of the room. So maybe I would sit like in the front of the room now. Maybe I would actually physically remove myself from those people that I kind of knew were always talking negative, or maybe I wouldn't go hang out in certain spots, and I would just kind of, maybe go at different times or something. But a lot of it really boiled down to me being developing that emotional intelligence, that strength like within myself to kind of be like, I'm not going to let you get me to this point. I'm better than this. I'm smarter than this. I'm stronger than this. And just kind of reaffirming myself that like, I am worthy. I am, in the right place at the right time, and just kind of being comfortable in that. Because a lot of times I was really hung up on what other people thought of me. So I had to do that internal work to just be like, I'm not going to let you get me to that point. I remember I started like intentionally write down like my accomplishments, like, because a lot of times I would just brush over everything that I've done in life. And I was like, I'm not doing that anymore, because then that gives someone else power when they say, oh, you don't need to be here. You don't deserve to be here. I'm like, yes, I do. And this is why, so that was, I think that really kind of helped me when I kind of had one of my, they call them peer leaders. It's kind of like a resident assistant, like in your dorm. And she kind of took me through that too. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. Like, this is it. So, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of your peer leader, um, what kind of support did you have put in place at that time? 'Cause that's a
Yes.
very vulnerable time to when you start to really go inward.
Yeah. So my peer leader, she looked like me. I had two others that didn't, so I didn't really connect to them as much, but she did, and we talked about everything on campus, like literally. I asked her experience specifically. I was like, how do you like kind of deal with this? How do you kind of deal with these sly comments and these sly remarks, right? And she was like, you know what? Some people you're just not going to change. You just kind of have to figure out how to navigate those situations. Either you ignore them or you find a way to tactfully address them, um, or you just kind of, circumvent them altogether. But she would kind of tell me, how she was able to walk through, how she was able to use maybe those situations even to her embetterment as well. Maybe it was through like her job offers, her internships that she got on campus, by putting herself out there, stepping out in that discomfort, and really just kind of owning everything that she was doing, on campus, no matter what kind of fear other people try to instill in you to try to knock you down or keep you from going after something that you knew was going to be great for you. So I think that kind of, I really had talked with her every night. And I remember I would come to her crying sometimes. I'm like, girl, this is what happened to me. I walk in between classes and she's just like, brush it off. Think of the bigger picture. Why are you here? You're not here to get fans. You're not here to get followers. You're here to get an education and maybe a job from that. So that was kind of the it for me.
Yes, that's very good information.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, so I think that a lot of us need to hear that. Um, just keep going type of, speech
Hmm.
often. When is once you moved into your professional career,
Hmm.
how did you find support in that new environment?
That one, okay, so I started full time in March because I graduated last December. It's actually a year today that I graduated.
Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. So I started in March, and that one has been a struggle too. I started to find myself falling in some of those same patterns, but not necessarily me wanting to get people to like me, but more so not having that support system. That's what I think is the biggest crux of it all. That's the like cornerstone of it all is finding that support system, find those people that you can have in your corner. And I didn't find those people on early on. I was kind of just head down, like let me do the work kind of thing. And so maybe about a month ago now, I was talking to one of my good friends. He's looking to come into the company and he'll graduate next spring or this December, actually. And I was like, I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to go somewhere else. Like, I'm over it. And he's like, he's always kind of like that rational person. He's like, no, Shanice, slow down. Like, this is a good company, what's going on? And so I started to list out everything to him, and he was like, okay, it sounds like it's a people problem. It's not just with the company, right? So we got to dig down deeper into that. Is that something that you can circumvent? Can you get a different project? Can you, tell your higher ups, can you maybe switch your interactions up with these people? And so he got me in contact with another kind of a mentor of ours who has been with the company for years now. And she looked like us too. And I was like, how are you making it? How have you been here so long? And, she really sat me down. She was like, at the end of the day, she's like, it's about my money. These people do not pay my check. Like, I'm just here working on the project that I'm collaborating with them. And she's like, you have to think back again. You have to think of the big picture at all times. And so she ended up switching departments as well. It wasn't necessarily because of an interaction, but it was because of her standing up in her boldness that got her noticed, and standing up in her, her skills and stuff. And she got, almost double her salary. And I was like, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna sit here and let these people get me off my path and what I know I'm supposed to be doing here. You're not my mission. This project is my mission. So yeah,
Yes.
it's
Okay.
it's a battle constantly for that one though. It still is. I haven't perfected it, but I'm getting there.
Okay. So what kind of practices do you take just to set boundaries for yourself?
Yeah, so I work in consulting. I kind of said that before, but I think that the industry of consulting is notoriously known for putting in 80-hour work weeks, right? And I think that's what really starts kind of this negative cycle, like people just being super grumpy because they're tired, they're not getting the time off, they're always at work the same people. And I'm like, if you're around everybody, the same people every day, like I'm bound to like not like you by day two. So for me, one of the things I do is I refuse to work through lunch. I take my entire hour break, laptop off, everything disconnected. You're not contacting Shanice at that time. Like I need to reset. I need to disconnect from you and everything that's going on. And I think also in that same vein, I make it my priority to log out of work. I would say about 5 or 6 every day. I'm not staying any later than that because then you're bleeding into my work-life balance in a sense, right? I'm not prioritizing my own self-care. I think that a lot of times we can just say, oh, I'm going to work, 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 work because, you know, whatever reason. But I'm like, the work is going to be there tomorrow. It doesn't matter, no matter what you're trying to do today. And it's like, true, everyone's not still on the team. Everyone's not still online right now. So it's like, you're doing the work, but you can't really do that much because the person that you need to get, an assignment from or document from, they're offline because they're in India and they're at bed. So it's like, why am I still up trying to make something work? I'm going to go to bed too. So I think that it's a lot easier to kind of burn out, especially since we're in this virtual environment and you live where you work and you work where you live. You kind of blur those boundaries a lot. And so for me, it's been a practice of intentionally setting those boundaries and letting my kind of like boss and my colleagues know that like these are my working hours. Don't try to contact me after that because I refuse to work 80-hour work weeks and lose my sanity. So,
Right. No, that's so good because
mm-hmm.
even with myself, like I transitioned out of, the post office,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm working for myself. And in order for me to do like numbers in boarding, this is physical work. I can't, now I'm trying to transition to like using my mind to work.
Mm-hmm.
But that actual labor, like I'm putting in all these hours and then I go and try to build something, create something. It's like I'm working 18 hours, like I'm trying to
Nice.
sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not productive at this point. I'm just busy, and
Uh-huh.
so what kind of things do you do once you're off work to kind of take care, self-care?
Yeah, no, that's funny. When you said that, like you get off work and like you work your business, that's what I do. Like I do my podcast stuff when I get off work, but that's why I'm like, I gotta get off work at a decent time.
Hmm.
So I think to kind of take care of me, I love waking up pretty early. So I'll do my journaling, my meditation, like my devotional, all that in the morning. But I also am trying to get back into it now. I fell off and I noticed it completely. But I try to I work out like in the mornings. Maybe it's just like a 30-minute walk or something like that. Something to kind of get my activity up and get my like adrenaline going. Because I feel like for me, that just kind of sets me up for the day. I know that's what works for me, working out in the mornings. Sometimes I may also go to the gym at night because it kind of helps me offload some stress as well. It's just kind of like my happy place in a way. And then other times when I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything at all. For me, that's like Tuesdays. By Tuesday, it's so bad. But Tuesdays are so long for me. I'm like, I'm just staying in bed and watching Netflix when I get off work. And that's what I have come to allow myself those pleasures every now and again because I think a lot of times we kind of feel guilty and we kind of deprive ourselves of that enjoyment because we feel like we should be all 24 hours should be productive. And I'm like, no, you need to rest at some point. You need to kind of disconnect and allow yourself to kind of rejuvenate. And so maybe once a week or twice a week, I'll allow myself like that kind of off day in a sense to just kind of do nothing and just reconnect with Shanice. So
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm slowly but surely, I do kickboxing
Yep.
um, 3 times a week, sometimes four, but
Mm-hmm.
just kind of taking that time, like my walks with God, I go to the park, I need to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just making sure I do something for
Yeah.
myself. So
Exactly. Yep.
it's very important. And then I know that just how you were saying, you want to take care of everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make everyone else happy. Like I will forget about myself. I'll make everyone else happy and then go to bed and then start it
Exactly.
all over.
It's like you gotta stop, you know. I kind of realized that I think more so in college, but when people kind of ask you what are some of your hobbies, and I'm like, I don't really have a hobby. And I'm like, that's really bad, Shanice. We gotta do better. So
Right. Right. So, okay, you were talking about the bigger picture. What
uh-huh.
is your bigger picture?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm still I feel like I'm still piecing it together, but for me it really boils down to time freedom, like me getting to a place, whether that's with a career or whether that's with, my podcast, other ventures that I'm doing, real estate investing, whatever it is, but it's having systems in place that allow me to do whatever I want with my time. And that's not that I can, enjoy time with family truly, that I can travel and experience other cultures and other, parts of the world, something that allows me to really grow as a human being and not kind of be stuck in the monotony of every day and like our everyday routine. So I think for me, that's kind of like my big picture. And people say like, oh, you just want to be like a millionaire or something like that. I'm like, no, does the money help me reach that goal? Absolutely. But I think the real big picture is that opportunity and that freedom to just spend time as I would love to freely. I think a lot of times, especially in this pandemic, we've kind of realized that time is so precious and we kind of just work ourselves to an early grave. And I'm like, I don't want to be in that position. I'm always kind of like, too, I don't want to work for anybody by the time I'm like 30 years old. I just kind of want to be able to wake up, decide if I want to work today, decide if I don't want to. If I want to just spend time with my kids and my family, I want to be able to do that and not be concerned about putting in time off or requesting time off or, being chained to a business that I built as well, because I can't step away from it from a day or two. So,
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just love that. Um, I guess, what you were talking about, just your finances and investing,
Mm-hmm.
and you're starting young. What kind of got you on that path, and what are you doing to grow your money?
Yeah, I would say our family, kind of like that's kind of been the historical trajectory, right? You go to school, you get a job, or you work on the family farm, and you just kind of stay in that cycle all the time. You don't really move anywhere else. Like my entire family is really in Georgia. Most of them have never, gone elsewhere. Most of them have never even left the country. I have not left the country yet. Um, and I think, for some, we're kind of that comfortable middle class where things aren't bad, but they could be better. And I feel like we're just kind of stuck in that pattern. And I'm just like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to continue living life like that and continue playing it safe, um, because of, your past and everything else, right? Everything that we were kind of born into. And I'm just like, it's kind of time up for that, like I'm so much greater than that, I'm so much better than that, we're so much better than that. um and I don't want it to ever be a situation where I'm trying to figure out if I want to travel and go enjoy my weekend or if I want to make a couple $100, because I could really cover some other things this month. um so for me, some of the things I've kind of done to um I guess rewrite that story, rewrite that narrative in my family is I really did start to educate myself on investing. Probably I would say about my senior year in high school. So I started to learn more about personal credit, and I got my first credit card. I think in that interim of high school and going to college. and I started to build my credit score. I was really picky about it. I was like, I'm paying this bill off every month on time. I'm not missing anything. I didn't charge very much to it. I was just like, I'm still a little bit so I can kind of grow it. And then I was a little late to the game with actually investing in the stock market, but I was always learning about it. I was always researching about it because I was like, man, how do people make this work? But I was kind of letting fear actually stop me from just pulling the trigger. I actually started investing last September. It's like when the pandemic like popped off and everything was going south. I was like, okay, I have nothing else to do with my money. Like everything's closed. I'm not buying anything. I'm not going anywhere. So I was like, why not take this opportunity to invest? You know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know, it is what it is. So I did that. And I now have a Roth IRA. I now have a brokerage account. I have my 401k, like with my actual full-time job. And I'm just so excited, you know, to see it grow. Like it's almost at 5 figures right now, and I'm so excited, like just in a year a little bit, you know, and it's already amassed like this amount and grown to this amount. I'm so proud of myself because I'm not just throwing money out there and like buying into hype investments, but I really do take the time to understand what I'm investing in. And it makes me so happy because I'm kind of like the one with all the knowledge in my family. So now having my mom or my sisters and my brothers come to me and kind of be like, hey, how do I do this? Like, I want to learn more about this. I'm like, absolutely. Like, you know, our conversations around the dinner table have changed now, and it makes me so much happier, you know, that I was kind of able to get out of that funk and kind of help my family get out of it as well, break that cycle as well. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that. I believe it's really all about community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just, I feel like sometimes we can't always go together, but as long as we're going back and, spreading that information, which I think is just the key to everything, just getting that information, spreading it, and then executing on
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That is the big purpose, or,
Mm-hmm.
just the bigger picture. Um, okay, so just with developing, um, it sounds like you have the awareness and um, the self-discipline to go after, the
Mm-hmm.
things that you wanted. When was the first time you went after something, or you were afraid to go after something, but eventually went after it?
Um, Outside of investing, because I already kind of went to that, I would have to say my job that I currently work right now. So I work with a pretty big tech company. They're up there with like Microsoft and Google, like the likes of them. And I have never, usually you can only get into the company like if you've interned with them or you kind of have an inside connect, right? Like that's how competitive it usually is. And I know because like I applied for their internships before and I could never make it past the entrance exam. Like I was like, man, I am really not smart enough for this company. Um, so I was just kind of always putting myself out of it. Like I would let everyone else kind of experiences and kind of, you know, negativity like with the interviews and stuff kind of knock me back, right, and kind of stop. So I didn't even try anymore. But for some reason it was last spring actually, or last fall. I was getting ready to graduate from college. I was like, man, I need to do something for full time. I had already had an offer from my previous internship, but it wasn't high enough. I was like, we can do a little bit better. So I just went and I applied to this company after I saw like someone in one of my group chats drop like their referral link, and I was like, okay, we got a little inside link now. So I immediately messaged them and DM'd them. I was like, here's my resume, like here's my experience and stuff. Here's why I want to work with them. And she was so happy to like help me come on board and everything. Cause like, it's kind of male dominated anyhow. And she was like, we really do want to get more women of color into the business as well. So I was like, I'm your girl. So her and I kind of set up a little talk, and we just instantly hit it off. And I think that's what really helped expedite my whole process this time around. Like I don't even think I had to take the entrance exam anymore. I think that referral
Mm.
link, that connection really helped me bypass that, and helped me get into the company like a lot easier, a lot quicker. So I think for me, just that point of getting over that fear, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go for it one last time. This is it. I think the fact that I already had a job offer made it a little bit easier for me to break into it. I was like, if it doesn't work, I have another offer anyway. It's cool. Now we're just doing this for kicks and giggles. So that's what I really think helped me kind of get over that barrier.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I just want to put the two together. I see the connection.
Uh-huh.
So you started in college, you were basically isolating yourself because,
Mm-hmm.
the people, the environment, it just it wasn't right for you. You weren't in the right soil, or
Mm-hmm.
so you thought until you found that union, which was a environment that kind of feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Okay, and so then fast forward, now you say you found her in a group chat. That's
Yep.
another environment that you put yourself in. What kind of like an entrepreneurial or a tech group chat?
No, it was the same chat that I got connected to earlier on to help me get out the funk. It was that same African American Student Union chat. So they just
Mm,
kind of helped me with more connections, even more I stayed networked with them basically. So yeah,
See, that's awesome. Just getting into the room. Um,
exactly.
is
Yeah.
so important. Just getting not only getting into the room, but actually pushing yourself because sometimes even I like to observe, so I may not say
Right.
anything.
I was just going to say the same thing, not just being in the room, but actually participating and speaking up and kind of asking for what you need in that room too. You never know who's ready to help you if you don't ask. So yeah, I love that connection that you made because I didn't really see that myself, but you're absolutely right. That's what it was. So
That's so important. Have you seen that meme that's like, would you take $500 or a dinner date or something with Jay-Z?
yeah, uh-huh. Yep.
Okay, which one would you take? We gotta.
We've already been talking about this getting the right one, so you already know my answer. I'm taking the dinner date with Jay-Z, like all day,
Okay, I
every
just I just
day.
have to make sure because you know I think it's so important that we realize how good getting in the room intentionally is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if, and a good example I have of that is I used to work at Barnes and Nobles. And, everyone makes a book, and so we would
Mm-hmm.
have just all these amazing people come in and sign. And I don't remember who it was, but it was this older gentleman. He was a millionaire, and I didn't know what to ask him. I knew that money is a tool, and I want a lot of it so that I can create a lot of great things.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to ask him at that time. I just didn't have the capacity. And so I said, how do I become a millionaire?
Mm-hmm.
And that like he was just like you work hard and just something so cliche. Just
Yeah.
but had I known intentionally what I wanted to know or what I wanted to do with my money or what I needed to work on within my person, like what
Mm-hmm.
exactly I needed coaching on, I would have been able to go ask him specifically. And so just you explaining that in your journey, I think that that's so important for people to hear that just getting
Yeah.
in the room, networking with people, stepping out of your comfort zone just a little bit is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things that Dave mentioned too at our content creation boot camp, he was like, you're done networking. Now it's time to make your network work for you, because a lot of times we just kind of get in those rooms and like we're saying, yep, I'm here. But it's like then you don't ask questions. Then you don't ask for that feedback, that advice. And it's like, well, what is your network actually doing for you? It's not doing
Mm.
anything. So you got to start doing the actual work too within that. I think that was for me the biggest lesson that I learned and kind of that pivoting and that turning point for me. So
So do you now, are you easier able to ask for help? Or
it's still uncomfortable a little bit, but I'm leaning into the discomfort. I'm starting to see more um just how far it can get me just by asking those questions. But I'm not gonna lie, I have homework for my podcast mastermind to go get a sponsorship by the end of the year. I've not done it still just because I'm like, I don't want to ask people for that money.
mhm,
But again, it's just every day, just kind of what I remind myself too when I'm kind of faced with these situations. I'm like, you can only tell me yes or no. You can maybe block me. I'm like, okay, then I won't, that won't be anything, any worse. So that's what I kind of just remind myself of too. I'm like, what's the worst that they can do? Just say yes or no. That's it, and just kind of move on from that. Sometimes you
Have
may
you
have to go
started?
through 20 no's before you get that yes. So
Yes, yes.
mhm.
Have you started?
I have started. And this is the thing, like I got some no's at first and I kind of fell off the bandwagon. I got discouraged, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, just kind of being in like those groups and those environments and kind of hearing other people tell me, hey, I got this sponsorship and I wasn't really expecting it. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Let me get back out. Let me try again. So I am reaching back out to some folks, some new folks this time, and also kind of getting more personable with the response. Now that I have some episodes out, like I have, some insights, some analytics to share with you, I think the conversation is a lot more easier for me to navigate. So,
Yes.
mhm.
Well, I'm so happy you joined us. I think that you touched on some amazing points. You even went over how you're building up your credit. You built up your credit
Mhm.
in high school or after high school,
Yeah.
which I think is so important. Also, this video was sponsored by LLegacy Solutions. That's legacy with
What?
two L's. So it's very important that we start working on our credit. I just had an AT&T bill pop up on my credit,
Yeah.
and I was just like, okay, no, because I live on this, like,
Right.
like,
Exactly.
and I
Yeah.
need to pay it off, and you messing with my money.
Mhm. That's when I'm like, I don't play about my money, honey. Like, don't be playing with me, okay? So that's why I'm
Yes.
like, I'm always checking them statements every month. So.
Okay. Like I want to be able to pay it off, but the fact that my credit score dropped so low, I was I'm in a frantic. I'm trying to
Mhm.
push it up. It's like in the middle of the 700s, and I'm trying to push it up, and it dropped like this little. It's not. It's like $200. I don't even
Yeah.
know where it came from. Okay, it dropped it,
Mhm.
and immediately dropped me 50 points. So going to Legacy Solutions is amazing because like I'm even higher than I was before. So definitely
That's
check them
amazing.
out. Um, but you gotta close us out with a few things. Um, of course, we're all about healing,
Mhm.
and just trying to figure out what we need to do for self to hold ourselves accountable so that we can get to that next level.
Mhm.
Um, so I have a few questions.
Of course.
Um, just what what does healing your finances mean to you?
Mm. Healing my finances to me would, or really means, that I'm giving my family, that I'm giving my namesake an opportunity, a fresh outlook on life and what is possible for them. That is really taking our money and not looking at it as um, kind of a tool, but more so a vehicle to help us get to where we really want to be in life and not just settling for where we are and what's kind of been passed down. So,
Yes, I love that.
mhm.
Okay. What does healing your mindset mean to you?
Mm, that's a good one. Healing my mindset. To me, it means giving myself that space for grace, that space to be wrong and kind of learn from it. Um, that space to uh, allow myself, I would just say really learn, because a lot of times I'm so hard on myself. I'm my own harshest critic, and I think a lot of times it has stopped me from so much greatness and accomplishing so many things, or even starting so many things, right? Because of that fear of failure. But I'm like, if I just kind of change my mindset to kind of that growth mindset and kind of understanding that failure is going to happen, is how you kind of pick yourself and pivot after that and adjust after that is what really matters. It's not the failure that matters. It's what happens after the failure that matters the most. So.
Mm. Okay, you dropping gems, honey. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, and then last one. What does healing your emotions mean to you?
Mm. Healing my emotions. I would say healing my emotions means to me being in better control of my emotions. And I wouldn't necessarily say my outwardly emotions like to other people, right? I would more so say with myself and how I respond to things when I'm alone, I'm in my room, right? Because sometimes like I just hold everything in. I'm like, that is really toxic, Shanice. You cannot let that stuff stay in, girl. You got to have a little self-care day, a little cry day, a little something more regularly to just kind of be real with yourself and kind of say like, no, that hurt me. I'm going to acknowledge that right now. Maybe I need to sit in it for a day or two. But that's okay to kind of acknowledge that and that hurt and name it. And then kind of let yourself heal through that by just crying sometimes if you need to. Like, that's okay. You don't have to be this super macho person, you know? So for me, that's why I said healing my emotions as being more vulnerable with myself, not just with other people, because I feel like that's the easy part. But with myself, when I look myself in the mirror, you know, how vulnerable am I willing to be? How truthful am I willing to be? So,
Oh my goodness,
mm-hmm.
Shanice, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You are amazing, and I know that your story is going to touch somebody because it it just speaks to too much of us. Like we're so
Mm-hmm.
intertwined. I just know that. Oh, oh my gosh, you got so many gems. So if you haven't already, check out the Well Read CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Her podcast is out now. I think you're on episode 5.
Yeah, episode 5. Yep.
Yes, girl, I've been listening. Yes,
Thank you
it's
so
so
much.
good. Yes, you guys have to check her out. I will put her links in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again for having us. You have any last words for us?
Okay, awesome. No problem. Thanks for having me so much. Have a great one.
Thank you.